What's up, everybody? Jonathan Rose, owner, Masters in Trading. Today, I'm going to share a really cool earnings trade in GDOT. Let's get going. Tomorrow night, we're holding an Ernies Academy webinar. The sign-up sheet is going to be in the description below. We're going to hold the webinar. It's 4:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 Central. Sign up below. Check us out. It's going to be an hour class. You'll see exactly how we trade every earnings season. But let's get back into GDOT. Here it is in front of you. You can see a pretty volatile stock, but look at all these gaps. Gets through its 100 period, rallies up to its 200 period. Now these big gaps, those were the last earnings releases. Here was one as well. If you look at the last earnings releases, GDOT has moved 22%. It moved 48%. Here it moved 34%. It's a very volatile stock, especially after earnings. But we know that it can move a lot. Let's look and see how the options are priced. Because when we trade earnings, how I do it is I want to see how a stock has historically moved after earnings and how the options price in that stock for this up and coming earnings. So let's go look at GDOT. Now for GDOT, the expected earnings are going to be February 19th. So instead of being in the February expiration cycle, we need to be in the March expiration cycle. On average, GDOT in its last 4 earnings releases has moved about 25%. March, 44 days until expiration. Vol, 71.7%. How much is GDOT expected to move? 7. 34, 33. You can do 7 divided into 34, and it's going to be about 20%. So right now, the options market is pricing in 20% of movement, but it's not pricing in 20% of movement for its earnings. It's pricing in 20% of movement for 44 days. Those 44 days include the earnings. So they're probably pricing in about 13, 14% for earnings and 7% for the other 43 days. To me, this is obnoxiously cheap. But there's even something more interesting that's presenting in GDOT right now. For the members, when I first shared this trade, I like to strangle buying calls and buying puts. But it's now getting real close to its 200 period moving average. It hasn't crossed its 200 period moving average. Going back this entire chart, it hasn't crossed. Let's get more data. If we add more data, you can see it crossed both moving averages at the end of 2018. In the beginning of 2020, it got over its 100, getting right up to its 200. The trade that I like in GDOT is we think the options are inexpensive relative to how much it historically moves. But because we're inching up to the 200 period moving average, I would expect it to fail, especially its first time up there. So instead of doing the calls and the puts, if you already have that trade, I do like that trade. But if I was initiating a new trade tomorrow, I would just consider the puts. Playing for a pullback. We know we have a big catalyst with the earnings announcement. You may want to consider the 30 strike puts, mid-market, $1.30, $1,300 of risk if you do a 10 leg. Nevertheless, we'll continue talking about this trade tomorrow. Again, it's a live webinar. We do these a couple times a month. It's 4:30 Eastern Time. The registration link will be in the video description below. I'll see you tomorrow. Got an exciting trade to share with you tomorrow in our live class. Thanks, guys. My name is Jonathan Rose, owner, Masters in Trading.